It is our Pathways panel. To moderate this panel, we have our own newly minted District Director, Kyle Hall. So, like a lot of us, Kyle was unsure about this new thing called Pathways. He was steeped and marinated in the legacy system. He was on a first-name basis with some of the manuals. And Pathways was so new. But Kyle decided that Toastmasters had done right by him so far, so he trusts Toastmasters just a little further. For the sake of his club, he made the sacrifice, and he jumped both feet first into the murky waters of Pathways. So far, he's impressed with what he has found. Leading our panel of Pathways prognosticators, please help me welcome our District 32 Director, Kyle Hall.
Is this working? Yeah. Great. So we have a great panel for you. They're each going to give a short presentation, and then we'll open the floor for your questions. I just want to tell you that I wasn't sure about this Pathways thing, but I knew that we had new people joining my club who were going to need mentoring in Pathways, and I said, you know, I'm this close to my second DTM, that can wait. I'll leave that till next year. This year, I'm going to work on Pathways so that I can mentor them through them. So that when they say, well, I'm working on project 3, level 1, I know what they're talking about. And thus far, I have been fairly impressed with what I've seen. The icebreaker exercise, level 1, project 1, the material TI gives you, I mean, the old Pathways exercise was 3 pages long of explanation. The new material is 16 pages long. There's videos on how to prepare your talk. With project number 2, you're giving speech, getting feedback, coming back and incorporating that feedback, coming back, giving the speech again, getting more feedback, then coming back and evaluating somebody and having your evaluation evaluated. Ooh, I love that. I just love that. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing so far. Now let me introduce our panelists tonight. It'd be helpful if I could read my introductions. First up, and I'm going to introduce them all and have them come up actually I'm going to introduce them one at a time, and they'll come up, give their presentation, and then sit. So our first presenter is Rand Mitchell. Rand Mitchell is a 2-time Distinguished Toastmaster and former Pathways Ambassador. She has embraced her Pathways journey. She is currently working on the mentoring project and level 3 in Pathways. She has chosen paths, her chosen paths are effective coaching and motivational strategies. Help me welcome Rand Mitchell.
I love Pathways. Can you hear it? Okay.
Rand?
Not hearing it behind me.
Stand over there.
I love Pathways. I love Toastmasters. I did not join Toastmasters to stay in my comfort zone. I guarantee you, if you are here to stay in your comfort zone, you're in a different Toastmasters than I'm in. I really enjoy that we're starting over, but not really. Whenever you start after a DTM, say, you get an MCC book, and you start over with an icebreaker. Pathways, you start over with an icebreaker. It's not quite the same icebreaker. I love the fact that this time, for the icebreaker, they gave us all these kinds of instructions, including a worksheet. Where was that when I did my first icebreaker? I got to watch other people in my club doing their icebreakers. I got to watch a lot of people that have a lot more experience than me doing their advanced speeches. It's the same. It hasn't really changed fundamentally. We used to have paper books. Now we have online materials. When you get evaluated, you print out your evaluation. You could, theoretically, have people typing and clicking. You don't want me, I'm a touch typist, typing an evaluation in a meeting. You would hear me typing. So we fill it out. One of the changes that I really like, I say everything. I had stacks of books. You can now save it online. If you're a vice president in education, instead of looking at the back of the manual and looking at the evaluations in the book, you can look online. If you don't see it in your club that they've actually done this speech, you can go look and see. You can go ask. It's the same. The format is all that's changed. I am really looking forward to the rest of this journey because instead of having a CC book and then advanced manuals times 15 different so far, we have 10 different chosen curricula. If anything, it's a little more tailored to each individual's needs. That seemed to be the #1 complaint that everybody had is, I'm doing the same 10 speeches when I do a new CC. No, you get to pick your speeches, same as before, but now you have a more tailored curriculum. I think it's the same Toastmasters program, only it's a little bit better packaged for the new millennium.
Our next presenter is Michael Nile, and he's the VPM for You Speak Easy on Bainbridge Island and President of Professionally Speaking and the immediate past Division B Director. Michael was worried when Pathways was first announced because he believed we already had a great system here at Toastmasters. Michael knew we needed to embrace this new system, so he became a Pathways guide to learn more and to help others. Today, Michael is engaged in his first Pathways journey and very excited about the opportunities it offers. Today, Michael's going to talk about why you should embrace Pathways.
Thank you, Kyle. Good afternoon. See, this is one of the tricks of Toastmasters. I was expecting to speak number 3, so I'm kicking back there, I'm relaxed, and all of a sudden Kyle throws my name up there. I'm not ready. How many of you have heard the name Michael Angelo? Michelangelo. Michelangelo. Well, I had the pleasure of visiting Florence, Italy this spring. I went to every museum I could go to. And on the last day we were there, we went through this museum. It was as wide as this room, probably twice as high, and it was a corridor. It was full of sculptures. It's incredible. Well, one thing interesting about Michelangelo, they built that big dome cathedral there, and they needed a masterpiece on it. He won the commission. He sold the committee on a vision, his vision. He then spent the next 5 years working on that vision. There was a lot of interesting conversations that went back and forth in that town and that city about what was going on, what he was doing, if he was going to get it done. But because he was accomplished, he had a track record. They trusted him. And even though he walked out in the marble yard walked past all the beautiful chunks of marble. He found one that was discarded. He took it, and over that 5 years, he created a leadership to take that and create the David. Toastmasters has a system in place. It's been around for over 80 years. We have all bought into that vision. And we've all put our trust in it. How many of you have learned new things? How many of you have changed? How many of you have developed new skills? It's because of that leadership that's provided by Toastmasters. Today, we have something new. We have Pathways. Pathways has been presented to us by Toastmasters International. They've spent years developing it. And through that, they've come up with a system to take us to that next level. We have trusted them in the past. We have learned. So we need to embrace this new leadership. We need to move forward with it. As leaders of your clubs, I challenge each and every one of you to take that first step, to start Pathways. And once you start, you'll be on a wonderful new journey. Thank you.
So we have one more speaker. On the Pathways panel today, we have Marvin Wiley Jr., a Pathways guide from District 32. Marvin is a member of two clubs, Success Speaks and Twin Lakes Toastmasters. He's been a Toastmaster since 2013. Today, Marvin will talk about your options as a member in regards to working in the traditional or legacy program and Pathways during this transition period. Please help me welcome Marvin Wiley to present The Choice is Yours.
The picture is clear. With the timeline that we have to submit our educational awards within the traditional program. That deadline is set for June 30th of 2020. If you're deciding your participation level between Pathways as well as the traditional program, there are a couple of key determining factors that I would recommend to keep in mind. The first is, what are your goals? What goals do you want to achieve within the traditional programs? How close are you to achieving those goals? When you look at becoming a DTM, some requirements are going to require you to be a district leader, which requires one full Toastmaster term. If you're going to be a district leader, then the minimum or the furthest out that you can start that journey will be on July 1st of 2019. These are some things to keep in mind as you're looking to jump all in with Pathways, or do both Pathways in the traditional program, or continue solely with the traditional program during this 2-year period. Another determining factor I recommend to take a look at is how many experienced members in your club are versed with Pathways and able to help your new members getting started. Remember, as we start Pathway, or as Pathways launched on March 20th, any new member after that point is going to be doing Pathways. So the level of experience within your club is going to determine how well those new members are able to get started within their path. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind when deciding your level of participation. I want to read something directly from TI in regards to submitting awards by 2020. It says, members who serve as a club or district leaders or as a club coach through June 30th, 2020 may receive an exception to use this as credit towards a traditional program or towards a traditional educational program award that is also submitted on June 30th of 2020. The role must be the final requirement for the award to receive recognition, and these exceptions will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Please be aware that members who use the role to complete an award, such as an ALB or ALS, in the traditional program, will not be able to transfer the work to an award in Pathways. You can also reach Toastmasters at any time. Their email address for the education department is educationawards@toastmasters.org, where you can contact TI with questions pertaining to what your goals are and what the best course of action could be. If you want more information on the exception rule that I just outlined, I contacted TI yesterday. They don't have anything laid out as of yet. So if you want to contact TI in regards to that, I recommend giving them a couple months so that they'll be able to formulate that process. It's too far down the road and they don't yet have that formalized. So if you're looking to determine your level of participation within Pathways, just take a look at your goals. How close are you to achieving those goals? Are those goals within the traditional program important for you to achieve? Then go out and accomplish those goals. Or you can jump all in with Pathways and start that new Pathways journey today. So the choice is yours. You can choose Pathways, the traditional program, or you can do both throughout this 2-year period.
So we have our panel of experts, and the floor is open for to answer your questions regarding Pathways. What questions do you have? Don't all jump at once. Okay, I would ask you to come up because I need to hand the mic back to them. So I'll ask you to come forward.
So I've just had a brief presentation from our area governor on what Pathways is. I keep hearing it's the same thing, only different. It's the same thing. But it looks like it's combining the leadership with the communication portion, doing everything together in one path. I'm sorry, is that better? So if you're combining everything, is it still all the same requirements? You still, to get to level, say 4, you have to be an area member. To get to the final one, you have to start at a club and sponsor a club. Is it still the same stuff?
Who'd like to answer?
If you want to get your distinguished Toastmaster, you will have to be a district level officer, or I think there is also a way, but I'm not clear on how, to be a club level officer and still get your distinguished Toastmaster. I am not that far along yet, but what I have read has indicated this. The levels are basically, in level 1, you do your foundational skills. You do an icebreaker, evaluation, and feedback, where you give a speech, get feedback, give that same speech or a new speech using that feedback, and learn to be an evaluator. Once you get to level 3, you start doing further skill builders, and that's where the paths diverge. And at that point, you do things like learn to be a mentor, learn further skills. But the role of being a club officer, doing your grammarian, doing your Toastmaster, and things like that, those things are going to be largely unchanged from the way they are now. How being an officer fulfills the role of BTM, I am not yet sure of. That's something that we in this district aren't there yet.
Okay, Martin.
I do know that within the traditional program, it's a requirement to only be a club officer for 6 months. Within Pathways to get to DTM, you have to be a club officer for 1 full year.
Yes.
So that's one difference that I discovered. As far as looking at the district officer, of course you have to be a district officer. You also have to be a club coach or a club mentor, club sponsor. They're more entailed with becoming a club sponsor. I believe it's a requirement to either choose a youth leadership program or be a club sponsor to start a club. Those are some of the requirements for DTM. comparing with the traditional program where you could be a club sponsor, club coach, or club mentor. So it's more, so those are just some subtle differences I discovered. So there's not much, once you get past these speeches, it's pretty much, the requirements to become a DTM are quite similar within Pathways. So of course you also complete 2 paths for DTM.
Other questions? Gina?
Okay, I have 6 questions, but I'm going to spare you. Just do it smaller, short questions at a time. This is a yes/no question. Are they keeping the Speechcraft program?
As far as I know.
It's being revitalized.
They're changing it, but they're keeping it as far as I know.
So yes.
Excellent. Okay, now the longer question. So, what about the successful club or better speaker modules? Are they taken down periodically, or are there level achievements where you're supposed to call upon one of those?
So let me see if I understand your question. You're asking whether whether the Better Speaker Series or Successful Club Series are a requirement within any of the paths.
Yeah,
Okay.
as part of the DCP and all of that.
I haven't seen where it's a requirement in Pathways, and I do know that they're redoing it.
Sorry, can you hand the microphone? Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm deaf in one ear.
As far as I know, we are keeping them, but like the Speechcraft and other things, they're modifying them from the way they look now. I haven't seen in what I've been reviewing in Pathways that it's a requirement, but I think it's still a good idea because those are the teaching tools for how to be a better speaker, how to have better club meetings and things like that. But I don't see yet in what I've been reviewing where it's required under Pathways. Marvin, have you in your reviews?
I haven't seen it. It's not required as far as I know. It's not on the list. So it's
No.
not posted for us.
As far as, is it a good idea? I think so.
Other questions? Bill? This is Andy, on the mic back. Oh, okay.
Okay, my question has to do with, is TI requesting district officers to provide feedback on how well Pathways is being accepted in their districts? And I say that because I'm personally disappointed in the program, in that you can go through an entire path without working on the fundamentals that we had in the CC manual.
Okay, so
Can you ask what those fundamentals are that are missing?
he wants to know what the fundamentals are that are missing.
No, it's not that they're missing, they're optional. They're not required. You don't have to use descriptive language or visual aids or vocal variety to complete the elective at level 3.
For which path?
Well, this happens to be
Yeah.
presentation mastery.
Okay.
But that's pretty much, most of the electives are the same in practically every path.
Okay. Thank you. So let me address the first question. I don't need this because I have the other mic. Let me address the first question, which is TI asking district officers to provide feedback back to them? In one sense, they don't need to because they have a tool online. They haven't made it available to us, but I know they have because they showed us in the mid-year training. They can look online and look at what the level of acceptance is across a district and how many paths have been adopted and how many people are working the paths. So they can look at that with a click of a button and see whether people are actually making progress on it. Now, do any of you want to comment on the second half of that question?
Well, he also has access to see what the compliance is
Mike,
between.
Mike,
Microphone, please.
Mike, hand me the mic.
Thank
The VPE also has access within their club to see who's already enrolled in the legacy program, has enrolled in Pathways, and is making progress in Pathways. The VPE can see that.
But that's on a per club basis.
That's on the VPE in the club.
Right.
As far as the other part, where is it optional for, say, using descriptive language? Yes, there is a project that focuses on using descriptive language as an elective. But if you're working the program, you're learning that skill.
You're also being evaluated on several different aspects as well, such as your body language, as well as vocal variety. When you look at the evaluation sheet, there's a lot of detail, and it outlines on page 3 of the evaluation form where it describes what each particular category to focus on, like what it means to have good vocal variety, what it means to have good body language, etc., is on the evaluation page. So you are able to get evaluated on those, and it's a good practice for the speaker to speak with the evaluator, where they can be informed as far as what the evaluator should focus on your speech. That would be my recommendation. That would be my recommendation there. And we also talked a lot. We had a great session on mentoring. So if a member really wanted some direction as far as what projects that they should do in terms of their electives, then they can consult with the mentor as far as what electives that they should choose. So that way they're getting the best benefit based off of what their goals are. That would be my recommendation.
I'd like to make an additional comment. Over the years, we've seen a lot of people work the CC manual, and you may have seen it. I've certainly seen it. I've seen people do, like, let's say, the vocal variety exercise without much vocal variety, or working the descriptive language without really using very descriptive language. They just do a speech and they call it the descriptive, language exercise, and they get credited and they go on. On the other hand, I've also seen people who work those things and really, the descriptive language, and they really get into it. They paint beautiful word pictures, and the people with vocal varieties who get really out of their box in terms of vocal variety. You can go through the program and do the minimum required to get some initials after your name, if you care about initials, or you can really work the program to get skills. Now, you are correct. The vocal variety exercise and the descriptive wording exercise may be electives. And when you get to level 3, you have to do 1 required project and you have to do 2 electives. But there's nobody that says you can't do more than 2 electives. If you care, you can do 5 electives. You can do, you can do all the electives that are available. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. So if you care about developing your speaking skills when you get to level 3 or level 4, whatever, do whatever electives are important to you and your goals, and also do the vocal variety elective and do the descriptive wording elective. And that comes back to our previous session, mentoring. How do we mentor our people? Do we mentor them to do the minimum they can in order to get the initials after their name? Or, it used to be CC or Advanced Communicator, Bronze. Now it's, your pathway initials, level 1, pathway initials, level 2. Do we mentor them to get the minimum they can, or do we mentor them to do the exercises the way they need to be done in order for them to grow? Does that help?
Right, and that's the attitude that I'm hoping is going to be pervasive throughout the district.
I hope so too.
Don't just do the minimum, especially if you have a mentor.
Yep.
You have that mentor identify with you which items you actually need to work on.
Sure.
Can you speak a little bit to how leadership growth opportunities are woven in? I appreciated about the legacy system that I could look through the CL book and see what related to what I was doing that I could actually get credit for, because I'm one of those people who likes to get credit for what I'm doing. And I was able to get my ALD at the same time as my CL because I could see what the requirements were and how what I was doing related to what was ahead. Can you speak to that at all?
is there is a District 4 site where they took all the projects within Pathways, and they outlined it where you can just click on the path, and it'll bring up all of the projects within each path very conveniently. And then you can go through all of the different objectives. Most of the leadership intensive projects are going to be more like around the level 4, level 5 range. And they can analyze what those projects looks like. And I don't have examples off the top of my head, but that's what I would do as far as going to look at which projects would have more leadership attributes. Because there are some, I believe, where you go into a different, do you have any examples?
Well, I just did this.
Pass the mic.
One of my chosen paths is effective coaching. I just did the Building Consensus Project. One of my club's needs is membership. Who doesn't have that problem? We chose to have a brainstorming, building consensus meeting. My project, my speech, the discussion, that helped me do a project for my path, but it also helped meet a leadership need in my club, specifically running that consensus building exercise. Another thing that I need to do is going to be the high performance leadership project. Same thing. I am probably going to take a club need, do my high performance leadership project, which I haven't picked one yet, to fulfill that need.
You want to add anything, Michael? I want to add something, which is, so I'm working the visionary communicator path, and so I haven't looked at the other paths. But I know that ahead of me is a bunch of electives, and one of the electives is write a blog. Well, write a blog. So I could create a blog about, living in Squib, or I could create a blog about being a Toastmaster, and I could see a VP of PR in your club, or maybe a vice president of membership, using that blog as a way of marketing your club. One of the other projects is to work on a website. I don't remember exactly what the project is. It's not creating a website, but to work on a website. Well, maybe you use that to create or improve the quality of your club's website. So I can see where there would be an alignment between the projects that would be available at level 3, level 4, level 5, and things that would benefit your club.
Can they be worked out of order? Can you do a leadership project that's out here if you're only back here?
So the question is, can you do things out of order?
You can in the beginning, but you're not going to get access to the higher levels if you don't complete the lower levels, so you can get past number 3. I wanted to comment on that leadership piece one more time. As I look at Pathways, and I look at the traditional system was laid out there for us. We followed a series of steps, and we got to the upper levels. With Pathways, we have a lot of freedom. And that leadership component really comes back to us. But it gives us the opportunity to go in the direction we want to go, as Kyle pointed out, take those extra electives, and really ask for the help we need within our club to grow to the next level. I mean, we can go through anything in life and skate through it, but if we're here, we might as well learn, we might as well grow, we might as well develop. Because if we all stop and think about what that first day we walked into a Toastmaster club and how we communicate, how we think, how we listen, how we lead now, I mean, it's an amazing experience. And if Pathways has even 10% better than the old system, imagine where we will all be in a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now.
Quick question. So I know that you don't get access to level 2 until you finish level 1. You don't get access to level 3 until you finish level 2. When you get access to level 3, do you get access to level 4 and 5 at the same time, or do you have to finish 3 and then you get 4 and 5?
No. In that respect, Pathways is sort of lockstep. You have to finish the prerequisite, just like in college, before you can move to the next step. However, if you're really interested in one of the elective projects, you can download the evaluation resource and at least look at it, if not do it, but you won't have access to all the behind-the-scenes materials until you're actually at that level.
And once you're at a level, you can do things out of order. You don't, if you're working on level 2, you don't have to do exercise 1, exercise 2, exercise 3. You can do those out of order. Karen, can you come up here? Oh, sorry,
At one point, there was a discussion about having Pathways provide continuing education units or college credits. And I was wondering if that is actually a part of the program yet, or if it's still to come, or if it's going to be delayed.
I haven't seen it.
Anybody?
It's the first.
I think that'd be a great project for you to bring.
Touche.
One of my clubs is actually sponsored in large part by Enumclaw Morning. The Future of Enumclaw sends their interns. They require Toastmasters membership of their interns. In that regard, they are getting credit with the company for completing the program.
But not
So
college credit.
it may be some companies, some businesses will be doing that, but not college credit. I don't even know if that's on the horizon yet. It shows the chosen paths and the progress that each individual, level 1, level 2, that they've made within those chosen paths. And that will be for the Vice President of Education or other base camp managers, President, Secretary, to see that graph.
On the District 32 YouTube channel, there's also a video called Base Camp Manager Boot Camp that you can watch too. And we briefly discuss navigating through those graphs. There's also a base camp manager boot camp coming up
On July 22nd, Sunday. There should be an email coming out, and it'll also be in the view. So we've done this base camp manager boot camp live twice. We're going to do it a third time at least, because it keeps, people keep signing up and filling up the queue.
Yeah.
So, plus we recorded it and stuck it online, so if you can't attend one of the live sessions, you can watch a video.
Plus, there's also a lot of other districts that have put their information out.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I wanted to mention is our district, District 32, has started building up a library of materials that is useful to members, not just VPEs, lots of officers and members. And we put it out on the District 32 YouTube channel, and you can find that on the District 32 website. Also, there's just a ton of material, not just in the YouTube environment in general. So you can just go out to YouTube and search on, like, Pathways how-to. Boom, you're going to get a lot of Pathways, really good Pathways stuff. Some of them will be 5 minutes long, some of them, District 7 did a Pathways Academy that's like an hour and a half long. So there's a lot of material out there that's easy to look at. And if you have a member of your club who is, let's say, technology challenged, maybe even technology phobic, invite them over to the house. Give them a cup of tea, sit down with them behind your computer and do stuff. What we call it a tech buddy. Find that person who's a little tech phobic and give them a tech buddy to help them out. Last question, last Pathways question, and we're going to close down the session. Can I have the mic?
I mentioned that this is the president's meeting. How do you overcome the issue with Pathways for someone like me who works in IT 12 hours a day? I'm on my computer all day, and then to sit there and turn around and go, I don't want to touch one more thing about a computer with Pathways.
You're suffering from tech fatigue?
Yes, I am.
I can't relate to this question as well,
I'm going to relate to that question. So, if you're in IT 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, and are you the VP?
President.
President. Even better. The VPE is going to spend most of the time on the computer. And then when you do your assignments, you do your speeches, you go in there and you spend some time in there, but you're not going to spend time in there every day. So look at it as something to look forward to each week to check in
I'm trying to
and
get
learn something new. Don't joke.
I don't spend a lot of time looking at the Pathways materials online. I open it up, print out my project, the evaluation resource and stuff like that. I can work offline. If there's a video, I will look at that. I am not a visually oriented person. I'm a work through it oriented person. I'll look at the video and go, oh, okay. Then I actually work through the project offline.
I want to mirror what Rayanne said. I mean, I'm on my email all day long, from 9 a.m. to midnight sometimes. But what I'll do is like, okay, I'm starting, project number 2 in level 1, and they've got a video thing to watch. So I'll get up one morning, grab a cup of coffee, watch the video. Okay, I watch the video, now I download the exercise, pull off the website the eval forms and the description of the project, and then I work offline on it. Okay, I would like to thank Rayanne Mitchell, Michael Mile, and Marvin Wiley, our panel. Thank you. Control of this mic back to Tim. Hold up, Marvin.
Thank you, Kyle. Again, we're on time. So the whole team up here, bottle of BSB. It sounds like after all the Pathways education, you guys probably need a 5th BSB. And we also do a 103 in case you need something stronger. Another round of applause for the Pathways prognosticators panel. Come on, don't all jump at once. All right. What country has appeared in all 21 World Cups?
Brazil.
From 19... Raise your hand. Brazil. Split this with Laura. So, Brazil has also won the most World Cups, 5. However, there are 2 countries right behind them. Each have won 4. Name one of the 2 countries that won 4. I think I saw a gentleman's hand go up first. Germany has won. You get a bottle. And... oh, no. Anybody else? The blue?
Argentina?
No. One more chance here. You already got one.
South Africa?
No. All right. Let's see. Hold on. We give out these 3 BSPs. Who was first? The actual other country. Who else did we have? Oh, we had you. There you go. The other country was Italy. And they are not playing in this year's World Cup. They failed to qualify. All right, last World Cup trivia question. What year did the United States host the World Cup? All right, I already got you once.
1994.
There you go.
All right.
overall, I'm going to say I'm impressed with the level of knowledge, and more importantly, I'm impressed with the level of participation. So thank you guys again. It's been a long but very rewarding day. I like you guys. I think I'm taking home a lot of new information. I always do. And also discovered that I can actually quell the sweat just by thinking cool thoughts. Want to thank the team that put this all together, led by Joanna Tavera. Rebecca Williams. Yeah. Art Allen. Tom Baker. There you go, Tom. Jacob Maxwell. Yeah, there you go. Deb Baker. He's even working a walking task right now, if I say that properly. Kyle Hall, of course. And Dave Clark. One last reminder, we need your evaluations. You should have an email in your inbox with a link to do the evaluation. It's due by Monday. Again, your evaluations make these events go even better. However, I'm going to say it's pretty well known that air conditioning should not really be part of the evaluation. We're all aware of the issues.
What air conditioning?
All right, and if there are any other announcements, there are a couple of things on the tables to take a look at. Professionally speaking, I believe is one, and then Lindy McLean also has a card on the table as well. All right, with that, I think we're ready to wrap it up. Oh, no. Thanks, guys. Have a great Saturday night.